The aim of the report really was to understand what business decision makers and senior execs within organisations placed on understanding risks and understanding what data meant to them within their business. The key findings in the report really were quite surprising. Nearly 2/3 of an organisation expected to have a security breach at some point in the future, which is probably backed up by industry analysts and certainly a lot of the headlines that you're seeing. But less than 10% saw data security as the greatest risk to their business. When we asked senior executives what the impact of a data breach would be on their business, not surprisingly, they said damage to their brand and their reputation. And I think, again, if you look back across this year, the headlines that we've seen, I think we've seen significant impact around a data breach to a lot of those high-profile organisations. Just look at the headlines. Senior execs need to get that across to their employees. How they protect their data, what those critical assets are, need to be embedded into the culture of their business. When we asked individuals around what they thought about data security, over half said it was expensive. If you look back through the report and look back at the statistics in the marketplace, I think PwC say a cost of a breach is around 1.4 million. Is data security expensive when you actually put it in hard cash terms? And I think that, again, as an industry, we need to get across the fact that data security is vital to an organisation. It does affect their bottom line, and it isn't expensive if you do it right. As an industry, we've been talking to organisations about educating their workforce about the threats, about the headlines, and putting those headlines in context. But when we've looked at the data from a global perspective and broken that down into regional variants, there's some quite startling facts that come out of that. On average, when we've spoken to individuals about how their IT department keep them informed about information security threats and the potential breaches, on average, around 59% of organisations say that their IT department keep them informed. But there's some huge variance across our regional data. Hong Kong, for example, 74% said that their IT department kept them informed. But the US, 69%, UK, 52%, and Germany around about 66%. So some variance there, which is actually quite incredible when we look at the headlines, we look at what we've been saying to organisations about educating their employees and getting them involved in information security and data protection. And that is not backed up by the data that we're seeing from an individual perspective. When we looked at the specifics around critical data, there was some surprising regional differences. On average, around about 44% said that all their critical data was secure, which is actually quite good. But as I said, over 50% said it wasn't secure, so you can look at that either way. The surprising thing for me, there was some very different results that you wouldn't really expect. The US was around about 66%, and you can relate that to sort of their regional states around data disclosure and awareness within their country and their culture. But you'd also expect that maybe in Germany, and Germany was actually quite low. Around about 33% said that all their critical data was actually secure. So that might be a realisation that they understand their data more, or that actually might be quite a surprising look at how they actually try to protect that data and what that means to their business. UK, 44, around about the average. Norway and Sweden, slightly below that, around about 38–39%, protecting their critical data. And then again, a variance within Hong Kong, around 29%. And again, bringing in regional variance around this is very important when we look at how governments and organisations look at that critical data and what it means to them. Our research showed, and it's actually very interesting when you look at those statistics, so nearly 3/4 of senior execs said that insurance is vital. When you actually dig into that data though, then less than half actually say they've got cover for data security or an information security breach. Most organisations actually feel that their insurance, their business insurance, covers them from cybersecurity. What we've seen, certainly with a lot of the recent headlines and a lot of our research, is that cybersecurity and that general business security isn't covering them. So we need to look at their critical assets. We need to understand what a data breach would mean to them, and actually from our perspective, from NTT Com Security's perspective, help them understand what those critical assets are and put the right control measures around it so they can actually then determine what they're insuring against. I think the key takeaway from me is to really emphasise what this really means to a business. And I think despite the headlines and the value and the statistics we see out of the report, is that still businesses are underestimating the impact of a data breach on their organisation and their bottom line, not only in terms of stock price and brand and their reputation, but actually the internal cost as well. What does it mean to individuals, and how does that impact their business and their working lives? And to see that collaboration take place, I think again we need to see a shift in the mindsets from a lot of organisations to say that we're all responsible for data protection, we're all responsible for our business, and to actually make sure that they understand that data is important. No matter where that data is, it should be secured, and we're all responsible for that.